for the, against the measure, John Coney.
Coney, correct. Thank you. Thanks, Brian. My name's John Coney. I live right here in Northeast Portland, and we represent the no side of the ledger on this question of whether we should continue this system of publicly financing candidates for city office. And as I think Brian alluded to, there's some real issues with this, and not the least of which is the cost on this. This program has cost approximately $1.75 million in about the last 3 election cycles that it's been in place. Those are real dollars, and we maintain that those real dollars could and should be used for other core city services. And those are things that I think everyone, if you're here in this room tonight, you care about the city, and those are things that could be funding things that we all care about. Furthermore, if this, I should say, to point out some of those things, everything from law enforcement, public safety, and our fire protection services. It's even some of the indirect assistance that the city gives to the school districts. It's keeping our intersections up and running, making sure that they're safe for motorists, for bicyclists, for pedestrians and the like. And those real dollars do make a difference in those things. Furthermore, if this program becomes permanent in this election, we don't know exactly what that cost is going to be. And compare that against city budget projections, which I understand to be awfully tight given this recession. We could see a situation like in 2008 when you had a whole slew of candidates qualified into this program. The threshold for this is pretty low, and activist organizations are figuring it out pretty quickly how to gather those signatures and those donations. And we don't know how high that cost would go exactly. Again, with tight budget projections, getting harder and harder every day to fund core things. I just came from a large fundraiser for Grant Park, so we could put in modern day athletic facilities in there. And Commissioner Fish stood up and talked about how difficult it was with the parks budget being cut a little bit and a little bit and a little bit every year. So the question before you really is, do you want to put some very, very valuable public resources in these core city services or toward these campaigns? Now, another problem with this this program, I don't believe it has been proven itself to radically transform City Hall. I think for the better. We live we're very fortunate. I'm very proud to live in a city that's got a very grassroots feel to it. We are a very civically engaged city. I think the opportunity for anyone to run for the Portland City Council is there. It's daunting. It takes a lot of work. Resources are part of it, but many candidates have to go through it 2, even 3 times. But you can still get there without having to put up public dollars to do it. Finally, there's this issue, and Brian talked about this a little bit. One of the questions was about this, is about the use and misuse of the money in this program. The Emily Boyle situation is a glaring example of that. There are other things I think really unveil the problem of using public money to drive political speech. We had a candidate in the last election who used money to pay, paid door-to-door canvassers to go door-to-door for him. Was it illegal? Absolutely not. Was it questionable, sometimes even inappropriate? I would argue yes. I think a lot of people are arguing that's not a good use of our public money. Here's the problem with this is there's no way to control exactly how candidates use money because it's for political purposes. A candidate could take out a direct mail brochure. We've all seen these. We're all getting them at our doors and make some outrageous claim. It a candidate may make outrageous claims or exaggerations about their resume, work that they've done, that may not be exactly true. If they're using public dollars to do that, that's very, very troubling. A candidate could take out $100,000 in negative TV ads that would sour the civic debate here in Portland. And it would be our dollars that's driving that. And that is simply, in our book, not appropriate. These things can happen and there's no way to control it. So I believe that this program is very, very well intended. I think there's some very honorable people who are pushing it, and we believe it's time to end and use those very, very valuable dollars and scarce money to really fund core city services. So thank you. If any questions, I'm glad to take them. Be in the back.
You're opposed to this measure, but are you for any form of campaign finance reform?
Absolutely. If you put I'd be the first person to stand up and say, we need campaign funding limits here in Oregon like you have in Washington State. We're one of just a handful of states that doesn't have that. And I'd be the first one to support that. But I don't believe there's a difference between limiting the amount of money that an individual or an organization can contribute to a campaign per election cycle and using public dollars to do it. I think we absolutely need that in Oregon. Yeah.
Do you know what the difference is between the administrative costs to actually run the program versus what's actually distributed to potential candidates?
The overhead for it? I do not. If anyone does, please jump in. Go ahead.
Can you tell me who is supporting or funding the campaign for your side?
Yeah, well, we've got a number of individuals, the police officers union here in Portland, as well as the firefighters union here in Portland. We've got a few social service advocates, and a lot of business groups are supporting the repeal of this program. And I should say, as one of the things I have discovered during the course of this campaign and talking to a lot of business leaders, both large and small, the one thing they want to see the city of Portland do is to be able to do its core job really well, provide those basic services, because those things collectively make for a good, healthy community, which in turn makes for a very good business climate. So we're seeing a lot of, not quite the lineup you see on the other side, but we've got a lot of good supporters on our side. And I'm 1 minute apparently, yeah.
You mentioned that there might be a problem where we wouldn't be able to control how much was spent on this program. Your opponent said that there was a cap, and I'm just, there
Well,
seems to be a
you
dichotomy.
don't know exactly what that number could be, because it's a percentage, so, and it all depends on how many candidates show up and qualify for it. But you could see, I think there was a race in 2008 for one of the open city council seats that had, I think, 6 candidates. The cost of that was about $800,000 if you consider everything from the primary to the, through the general. So the price tag on this could go pretty high. Those are real, that's real money.
But it is capped.
As a percentage, I believe.
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
yeah, go for it.
As a first-time candidate, I know it's gonna be really, really difficult to raise money, and I have raised money.
Sure.
Because I've been around for a while, and I know a few people.
Right.
But how do you expect folks like me, who are first-time candidates of color, and women to raise money? We don't raise money as fast or as quickly as men do, and people who've already been in the system, and you say it's easy to do. I'm here to tell you that it's not that easy to do, and I've been around in the system. It's really difficult for me to run a competitive campaign, without calling people, rich people, for money and their friends. And having a program like this would be helpful.
It is hard, you're absolutely right, but it can be done. I was a candidate for public office myself, I know that it's very, very difficult to raise money. It takes a lot of time, especially for first-time candidates. And when you talk about the city of Portland, citywide elections, it's a huge constituency. I think it takes a lot of candidates more than one opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of them don't get there, and a lot of them, it takes them 2 or 3 times and they can get there. It takes a lot of time to build that network, build that grassroots network. It can be done, and I don't think money is as huge of a player in Portland politics as a lot of people make it out to be. I think that can be done. There's a big grassroots flavor here in this town, and that counts.
That's the time. That's the time. Time. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay.